All right, welcome in Ethan Skolnick, starting 9. Hold on a second. What am I? You know what? I'm off to the same kind of start as the Heat. Hold on. There we go.
That should be better. Well, at least I didn't miss my first 14 shots. Ethan Skolnick on the 5, and now I'm frozen. Fantastic. All right, now we're back. All right, that was just like missing the first 14 shots. No, he didn't have anything to do with it the other night. Put somebody else up. Strus had nothing in 15 minutes. You can put him up. Put Lowry up, put Tucker up, put Butler up. Duncan didn't do anything wrong the other night. Duncan was fine. I don't want to see that guy. All right, let's get to it. We are sponsored here today. If we get to this, I don't know if they're going to want to still sponsor the show, by our friends over at All Pro Construction Builders. All Pro Construction Builders. Hurricane season is right around the corner. That's the crazy thing. The Heat plays so deep into the playoffs. You turn around and all of a sudden they got named storms. Hurricane season around the corner. You got to protect your home or business. Make sure you contact our guy Danny over at All Pro Construction Builders. He tells me he's not freaked out about tonight, so I'm not going to say that he is. But I know everybody else is. His phone number is 305-484-4429. That's 305-484-4429. All Pro Construction Builders, a state-certified licensed and insured general contractor. They service Miami-Dade, Monroe, but also Broward counties. I'm supposed to mention that. They use locally made products, American-made. They're family-owned and operated. Danny and his family handle everything for you, and you'll deal with the owner from start to finish. So contact them for a free estimate. It's already like end of May, guys. August. Again, this is going to start again, most likely. And when mentioning 5 reasons, you will get a 10% discount. So get those impact windows and doors at All Pro Construction Builders. And again, check out the Instagram page. It's right there. You can scroll down and see all of their work. Again, 10% off if you mention 5 reasons. All right, let's get to it today. Manny's going to put up the comments. Manny Chang, our producer. No guests for me today. Not a long monologue, simply to say this. And I said this on 5 on the Floor, and you can listen to that. I did it with Alex and with Brady last night. Actually, Greg was not on the podcast because he's going to be at the game tonight in place of Brady. I don't know how that changes the equation in terms of how people think, the Heat will do. I will be there. I apologize, but I sort of have to cover this one. I will not be at Game 6. But what I was getting to yesterday on the podcast, if you went back to October, November, or even when this team was constructed, the guts of it were constructed, okay, with the Kyle Lowry move, and you said you're going to be here at the end of May, you're going to be 2-2 in the Eastern Conference Finals against the Boston Celtics, and you're going to have 2 of 3 games at home. Every Heat fan would take that. So this overreacting to the ebbs and flows. Sorry, Aaron, I can't. Well, home games. Yes, I'll be at the home games. But I'm not going to stay in my house. The ebbs and flows of the series where people kind of freak out, because you look terrible one game and then, how are you going to respond to it? I mean, again, I'm going to take everybody back to Game 2. How did everybody feel about Game 2? I mean, the Heat got blown off the floor, right? It was different. It was more a result of, Boston shooting the lights out and all that. But how did the Heat play in Game 2? And then look what happened in Game 3. And look at Miami's response. So I'm confident Miami will respond. I think we're going to settle into more of a normal series now. I think that the games are going to be more competitive. Both teams know each other at this point. I would not be surprised if it's a defensive struggle tonight on both ends. And I think it's going to be more of a possession game than we've seen. That would be my prediction. So can the Heat lose that game? Absolutely. Absolutely, they could lose that game, even at home. But I don't think they're going to get blown off the floor tonight. I really don't. And I think a lot of this is going to depend, and this sounds simplistic, but on the health of Jimmy Butler. Because to all of us, he did not look right the other night. Now, I talked to his agent prior to the game in Boston. He said, I asked how Jimmy was. He says, Jimmy's good. But there's a difference between being good enough to play and being at a level that you can play like the playoff MVP like he was playing at prior to it. And again, I mentioned before, this is the knee. He's probably going to need to have surgery on in the offseason. And so this is a legitimate problem, but he is going to play, and we'll see how he plays. And I think you'll be able to tell in the first 4 or 5 minutes with him because he shows it 2 ways. One is he trying to attack the rim? That's the first thing. And then is he getting above the rim? And you can tell, and there was a big difference this year with Jimmy when he had 2 days off as opposed to one or none. And I think that's going to continue, and we'll see. He just had one. He didn't play a ton of the second half, played some of it, but they didn't bring him back in. Spoelstra didn't bring him back in. But he just had 1 day off. He had a flight. That doesn't really help for swelling. And it's harder when you're coming back from the road to get the kind of treatment that you want. But look, they're going to treat him all day today and try to make sure that he's as comfortable as possible so he can be as effective as possible. But let's get to the questions. I know there's going to be rotation questions and all that kind of stuff. Here we go, Alan. Can we get at least I don't know what Sith means. I don't know. Sith Lord from Kyle for $630 million. Since we got Jimmy, we were saying we're going to add an all-star to him. I know they get Kyle, and he isn't helping us at all right now. Does that mean sign and trade? I'm not sure. I'm not okay. Anyway, let me just address Kyle here. I got to go to the game. I'm sorry. Apologize for that. Let me address Kyle. I said this on the podcast last night. He has shown that he's over the hamstring enough. Okay. He played reasonably well when he came back in game 3. Game 4, he wasn't impactful. Then again, really nobody was except Oladipo and to a certain extent, Caleb Martin. I do think that more can be expected of Kyle Lowry at this stage. This is one of those interesting issues because I'm usually an intangibles guy. And so, I appreciate it when Heat fans see what Lowry and Tucker have brought that's not in the box score. But I have been a little bit disappointed by the Kyle Lowry box scores this season. I appreciate the way he carried the team when Bam was out, at times when Jimmy was out, and how he got more aggressive. I obviously appreciate the way he tries to bring out the best in Bam. I appreciate him getting these guys into offense, particularly down the stretch, which is not somebody anybody else can seem to do. Appreciate all of it. I appreciate him coaching from the sideline. But I thought there would be, again, for what they went out and got him for, okay, and I said before the season he would average 13 and 8. So he averaged 13 and 8, 13 points and 8 assists. He was so... Again, I'm not saying he was a disappointment, but I'm saying I was a little disappointed that there weren't more, okay, Kyle won us this game with his offense, with his shooting, he gave you 25 when you needed it. Did it a few times, didn't do as many times as I would have hoped, and I really thought it would happen more in the playoffs because historically he had some bumps in the playoffs through 2016 and that series against the Heat, but since then he has provided scoring at a high level in the playoffs, and we haven't seen it yet. So I'm gonna say it straight out. I think they need to get 18 to 20 from Kyle Lowry tonight. I do. Jimmy can't carry them. You cannot trust Bam to be. I know we're gonna talk about this more, but you can't trust Bam to do it. He may do it, but I'm not counting on it. And then who else is it gonna be? I mean, Tyler's questionable. That's a legitimate injury he has. I'm not sure he's playing. I don't know what's happened this morning. I just checked. I haven't gotten any texts on it. I haven't seen any tweets on it. So it appears he's still going to be questionable going into later today. Who else is going to give you the scoring? I mean, are we counting on Max Strus and Gabe Vincent to do it? This is what Kyle's here for. He's got to plug whatever holes they have. They have a scoring hole right now. So I'm with everybody who says they need a little more from Kyle. All right, let's throw up the next one. Is the Jimmy Butler superstar conversation more annoying than the media lack of knowledge of the Heat? I mean, they're related, right? I mean, they're related. They don't want to talk about the Heat. We've seen it. I looked at the All-NBA teams, okay? It's tough. Look, the Heat should have an All-NBA person on the top 3 teams, okay? It is a bit odd that the Heat basically got recognized for no awards except Herro's 6th man, and yet Spoelstra was not coach of the year. Because to me, it's got to be one or the other if you're the 1 seed. I did predict all of the awards correctly. If you go back to a tweet, I said Bam would be 4th in defensive player of the year. I'm not saying this was my choice. I'm saying, talking to voters and getting a sense of the environment, Bam would be 4th. He would be 2nd team all defense. Everybody's like, no, he'll be 1st team. I said, no, he'll be 2nd team all defense. I said, Jimmy will not make an All-NBA team. Tyler will win 6th man of the year. And I said Spoelstra would be 4th in coach of the year voting. I think he was 3rd. Okay. So I saw all of this coming, and this is all a result of the lack of national attention that they get. And so I spoke to a high ranking Heat official about this the other day. And he basically said, we're about other things. And he didn't mean that like we don't care about awards, but they're not going to go prance in front of the voters to get awards. It's not what they do. They're trying to win a championship. Now, does Jimmy care? I don't really get the sense that he cares from people I talk to around him. It's hard to get to Jimmy these days, but I don't get the sense that that he cares that much. And I looked at the third team All NBA and I was like, all right, you knew LeBron was going to get it no matter how many games he played. Okay, no matter how bad that team was, and you can make a reasonable case for Pascal Siakam this year. You can. I mean, he had a great year. I would take Jimmy. I think if Jimmy played 5 more games, he probably does get it, but it's not egregious that he didn't make either of the top 3 teams. It just, again, shows that this is not a team that the national media is going to spotlight. They're just not. All right, next one. Well, look, if you're going to bet on Bam, do it at prizepicks.com. Use the code 5FIVE, get your initial deposit matched up to $100. Look, it's not saying that Bam is incapable of it. It's just that we've been here before. I mean, how many times has Bam followed up, his game 3 with a similar type game? It just hasn't happened very often. And some of it is emphasis. Some of it is not him. I don't think he was the big issue in game 4. I don't. Okay. I think he became the big issue to fans because fans wanted to see him repeat game 3. And obviously there is the Robert Williams thing. Okay. He doesn't seem to want to attack Robert Williams. He's more comfortable attacking, it seems, Horford or certainly Tice or Grant Williams. He doesn't want to attack Robert Williams. So that's why I'm saying with Robert Williams likely playing tonight, I'm not going to bet on Bam at prizepicks.com, but I do think that they will focus, Spoelstra will focus on getting him more involved early as he did in game 3, but maybe not to that extreme. Again, everything's set up for that game 3. He was pissed about the noise. They were talking about it. It was a focus for his teammates. Udonis was in his ear, all the rest of that. And then he did it. And then, the whole team relaxed for game 4. Really. It wasn't just him. So I'm not blaming Bam Jimmy was more of a problem in game 4 than Bam was, in my opinion. Strus and Vincent were more of the game got better as the game went on, but Strus, 15 minutes, 0 of 7, no rebounds, no assists. That was more of a problem to me than Bam was. And Kyle, again, not really imposing himself in the game. The hate for the Miami Heat is systemic. I don't understand it. I don't either. I've done shows on it here. I don't want to spend the whole show on it today. I don't totally understand it. I don't know if it's hate or indifference, but it does seem like even my friends in the national media, because I was in the national media, of which I have a lot of them who are covering this series, who I've seen going back and forth, they all have different explanations for me for it. But I will also tell you the kind of questions they ask show that they haven't followed the team the whole year. So I don't totally get it. If you want people who understand this team, who are in the national media space, the people I text with about it are the people I would communicate with. The Mark Joneses and the George Sedanos, they have an in-depth understanding of this team. Most of them do not. Unless you've been regularly to Miami Heat practices during the regular season and travel with them on the road, you don't understand the culture. You just say it, but you don't understand what it means. It doesn't mean most of the things these people talk about. It really doesn't. It's an organized, consistent way of doing things. That's the way I look at the culture. It's not what it was. Like this idea of, them, running suicides into the ground. Like that's a Pat Riley culture. It's not really a Spoelstra culture. It has changed a little bit. The Spoelstra culture is about development and all that sort of stuff. Like this is not, people talk about Heat culture as if it's been the same since 1990, since Pat came in 1995. It's not. It changed dramatically. Like sometime during the Spoelstra era, I would say actually post LeBron. So when people talk about it, they don't understand it. That's kind of what I get to. The people who've been around understand how it has evolved. But I look at it as with the Heat, even covering the team, what you're getting. That's how I look at the culture. Like they have a consistent approach. Who's in charge. There's the same people have been here for, even the media relations staff. It's the same 4 guys for like the last 10 years. And 2 of them have been there 25 years. No, 125 and 120. Like, you know what you're getting, as opposed to covering the Dolphins where it's just like you have no fucking idea where you're getting. Like, sorry, I apologize. But I mean, you just don't. Like, you don't. It's all over the place. And it's one of the reasons our relationship has been different with them. But with the Heat, you know what you're getting. So that's how I look at the culture. And they just don't care about certain things that other organizations care about. Well, Bryce, it is, but I don't know if he's playing. I mean, we'll get more of an answer on it tonight. I think his presence with Jimmy hobbling, Tyler becomes more important. Tyler has not been great during the playoffs. I mean, there's no way around this. He has cost himself money in the playoffs. He has not broken through the way that I think, the organization would have hoped for. He's had some challenging circumstances in the way he's been guarded. I think everybody acknowledges that. And so I think that this series, he was being counted on to kind of provide that relief when Jimmy needed it. We saw it from Bam one night. We still never really saw it from Tyler. And now Tyler has a legitimate injury. Like, it's a groin injury. ESPN reported he'd probably miss 2+ weeks if it was the regular season. He's trying to play. He wants to play. He wants to help. I don't think anybody questions Tyler's motives, or his ability. It just hasn't worked for him in the postseason. The on-off numbers suggest it. So can he help? Absolutely, because he provides something different than anybody else they have. Now, Depot gave them some of it. It comes in a different way with Oladipo. The thing with, and I have great respect for what Vic is doing, okay? The problem with Vic is that it's like when nobody else could score at the beginning of Game 4, I tweeted, you know what, just let Vic get 30 and lose by 20, okay? And that's pretty much what happened, because Vic went into ISO, and he was the only guy who could get past anybody, and because Kyle couldn't, Jimmy couldn't, and so, Oladipo gave him something terrific. And in the game previous, defensively, he was tremendous in the second half. But then you also watch it, and it's like the spacing when Oladipo's out there, like literally him and Kyle and PJ were in the same they bumped into each other twice. Tyler is more adept with this team because he played with it longer at finding his spots on the floor without it getting in the way of anybody else. So I think he does provide something they need. I just don't know, with the way he's struggled in the postseason and now he's dealing with an injury. This is why I keep coming back to Kyle Lowry tonight, okay? Because Jimmy's banged up. Oladipo, I don't think you can expect that again, and I don't know if it necessarily helps them when, to win a game when it's ISO Depot. Bam, I don't think you can count on him to do it. Tyler, we don't know if he's playing, and the issues that I mentioned. So to me, if you're saying next man up to be, to maybe carry them to a win, can Kyle carry them in a quarter? These quarters that the Celtics love so much? I think that would be helpful tonight. All right, let's get to a couple more, and I want to tell about another sponsor. Alan, Ethan, is the Tyler injury really as serious? What can you give us the rest of the playoffs? I think his bag is on the line. So, well, I just sort of addressed this. So, Manny, throw it up. Throw up the next one. Thank you very much. The great job as always. We appreciate that. Would love to collab. We can discuss that off air. Hit me up at 5 Reasons Sports Twitter. Aaron, worst case scenario, if we do lose the ECF at 6 or 7, is this season success? We'd have to get a 20-point score in the offseason. Well, it can be both. We said before the year that the bar this year was the Eastern Conference Finals. They got there. We thought it was against Milwaukee. It's not. I don't think that matters that much. Boston's really good. They're good. I mean, I want to give them credit. The thing about this is, like, Heat fans are reluctant to give the Celtics any credit because they're getting no credit. The Heat are getting no credit from anybody else. But we don't have to be that petty. Like, I feel like the Celtics are good. Like, this is a legitimately good team. They roll out a bunch of bigs who do a bunch of different things. They've got 2 legitimate wing stars. And, whether you like Marcus Smart or as a player or not, obviously, he's a good player. I mean, he's a good two-way player. I mean, he's become a better jump shooter and a better ball handler than he used to be. He's a good defender. He's not the defensive player of the year. But they're good. Okay, I don't love their bench. They've missed on some picks. Peyton Pritchard does nothing for me. Neesmith, I mean, Langford obviously never became anything. But they're good. They're good. So I don't think it's a failure if you lose to them in the Eastern Conference Finals. I mean, I think, again, most people would have taken where the Heat are now. That's completely different from whether or not Pat will go try to get a 25-point scorer. I mean, if Donovan Mitchell, makes himself available somehow, I still think Utah is going to be reluctant to move him. But if he does, then Pat is going to inquire. And the thing about it is Tyler's had an opportunity in the playoffs to kind of take himself out of the trade machine, and he's kind of put himself back in it. So I do think those two things are independent. You can get to the Eastern Conference Finals. It can still be a successful season. You can lose in 6 or 7 games, and you can still upgrade. I'm going to take you guys back to 2005, okay? You had, this matchup with the Detroit Pistons. Dwayne gets hurt in Game 5, pulls the ribcage muscle, misses Game 6. They get blown out by 40. Look back at that game. Game 6 in Detroit, 2005, reminded me a lot of what we just saw in Boston, okay? Miami came back for Game 7. Dwayne wasn't totally healthy. Stan was the coach. He went to Dwayne in the fourth quarter instead of Shaq. I was at a photo shoot with Shaq. I wasn't the one getting photographed. Shaq was at the Delano, and Shaq spent the entire 4 hours bitching about Stan. And I knew at that point, like, okay, they're going to make changes this offseason. They didn't change Stan out then, but Stan ended up going later on. But in the offseason, Eddie Jones, who didn't perform in that Game 6, was gone, right? They brought in Posey. They brought in Peyton. They brought in Antoine Walker. And they brought in Jason Williams, right? And they flipped the roster. They were coming off an Eastern Conference Finals appearance, Game 7 loss, and Pat completely flipped the roster. So would I be surprised if he flips it again? No. He's older now. I mean, look, we don't know how much longer Pat's going to be like the man in charge. So he'll do something this offseason, even if they lose in the Eastern Conference Finals. I mean, but that doesn't mean it's an unsuccessful season. All right, what else we got? Let's get to a couple more here. Do you still think that he can win Game 6 if they lose tonight? Fan from Poland here. Let's go Heat. I'm not confident in them winning Game 6. I don't. If you look at playoff series historically, the first 4 games is typically where you steal the game, okay, in an evenly matched series. So Boston steals 1, the Heat steals 1. Now is where I think the series settles back in. My prediction, if you're putting me on the spot, is each team wins at home the rest of the way. That's why I picked the Heat in 7. Like, the series is setting up exactly as I thought it would set up. Now, the wild swings and the blowouts, no, I didn't predict that. Nobody predicted that, even though that's pretty much what the playoffs have been throughout the league. But I think now it's going to settle into a series. I think this is going to be a close competitive game that the Heat win tonight. That's the way I view it. I think they are going to get some from Kyle Lowry tonight. That's one of the reasons I'm putting them on the spot, because I want to be able to feature that after it happens. I think that's going to happen tonight. But Game 5, I think the Heat win. I do not think the Heat are winning Game 6. I don't. I was in that building. The way the confidence that Boston played with there now that they have Robert Williams back, which I think Robert Williams is more important for them than Marcus Smart in this series. Not overall, but in this series. I don't think they're losing at home with him playing. That's my opinion on it. So I don't think the Heat are winning Game 6. All right, get to a couple more here before we close. Before we do, I want to tell you about another sponsor, the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Talk about betting. Go to Better Edge. It's BettorEdge. That's BettorEdge.com/5 reasons. BettorEdge.com/5 reasons. And this is a social betting platform. So basically, it's peer-to-peer betting. So you don't have to worry about being offshore or illegal, or can you do it in your state, or will you ever see your money, or will they kidnap you and take you to Costa Rica? You don't have to worry about any of that. You can go to BettorEdge.com/5 reasons. That's BettorEdge.com/5 reasons. And they'll give you $20 to play. And here's the cool thing about it. If you don't like the line that's like at some of these other sites or at the sports books, you can try to find somebody on the opposite side of the line that you like, and it will change how much you can make or not make. So let's say, you want to make more money. Like, let's say, I think the Heat are -2 tonight, I believe. I'll check it out. But I think that's somewhere around there. The sports books -1.5, -2. But let's say you like them in a blowout tonight. Find somebody who'll take the other side and who wants to take the Celtics +7. You take the Heat -7, and you'll get more money if it pays off. So, Manny, can you throw that up there, the website, before we move on to a couple more questions? It's BettorEdge.com betteredge.com/5reasons. And here's the cool thing. They'll give you $20 to play for free just for signing up there. You don't need a code. But you do need an O though, not a P. So it's Better Edge. We're going to do that again. Throw that up again one more time before we get to a couple questions. Because BETTOR. That's my screw up. Hold on. See, I don't want to blame Manny for things that are my fault. Here we go. He just copied and pasted. But go to Better Edge. There we go. Thank you very much. Okay, I can't spell. betteredge.com/5reasons. And again, they'll give you $20 to play with. So give it a shot tonight. Also, we've got our picks from J-Rod and from Sean Rochester. They go up daily around 4 or 5 o'clock to kind of give you an idea of who you should play. All right, let's get to 3 more questions here before we close, Manny. Cornelius, moving forward, Bam has made it clear offensively he's the number 3. As Heat fans, we must accept that. I think that's a very fair take. I do. I think he can be a number 2 some nights. I think maybe he can be a number 1 someday. I don't see it like maybe some others in my network do. I think if you're going to be a number 1, it's not just about the confidence we talk about and kind of the aggressiveness. It's also you have to have a go-to move. Just saying that you're faster, quicker than other centers, or that eventually you're going to be able to extend your range, that's not enough. You need a go-to. As a big, you need a go-to move. It has to be something. I know Bam likes the baseline. He kind of likes to curl around the baseline. But Jimmy, what Jimmy's go-to thing is. Like when Jimmy needs a bucket, he's going to isolate on a mismatch and get in the post. I mean, that is Jimmy's effective there. Jimmy has a few different places he can go. All right. You knew when Dwayne needed a shot, particularly as he got older, that little 12-footer, and people will talk about the turnaround and so many things with Dwayne, but that little 12-footer from kind of the left wing, like that was Dwayne's spot. Like he burned a hole in the floor from that spot. You knew that Dwayne was comfortable there. You need something you can go to when, it's like, okay, we need a bucket right now. He doesn't have that. So does he develop it over time? He's young enough to, but I think counting on him to be a number 1 or number 2 option. The problem with this team's offensive construction has always been this, and it's really difficult to get around. Bam and Jimmy complement each other perfectly on defense. They don't on offense. Like you need a buffer between them. You need a scorer between them because they occupy a lot of the same spots. And I'm not the only one who's talked about this. Trilly on Twitter, others. I mean, this has been an obvious thing for a while. The Heat know this. And that was the purpose of the Duncan Robinson contract to a large degree because he provides that space, that gravity that allowed Jimmy and Bam to operate. Well, Duncan's not really part of the rotation now. So it kind of becomes when Herro plays. But again, Tyler's been up and down and doesn't start. So, I mean, yes, in a perfect world, you would have a Donovan Mitchell-like scorer and then to provide that buffer. And then Bam's points become relief points. They don't become necessary points. But I mean, you can't change that now. I mean, you got to go with what you got. So they got to figure out somebody else who's going to create that buffer for them offensively. But they're not a natural perfect fit like some of the other, duos around the league. They're not. Okay. It's a credit to Spoelstra how well they've made the thing work. Jay, is there something to take from us getting off the slow starts? Yes, but game 3, they didn't. Game 3, they got off to a 26-point lead. I would say this about the first 4 games of this series. I think there's very little you can take from it for tonight. The games have been weird. I think these teams are more evenly matched than they've shown in any of these matchups. So I think that we want to project. I'm not so much projecting game 5 based on what the first 4 games are. I'm projecting game 5 based on how I thought this series would go before it started. And like I said, the way I thought this series would go was they would split the games in each other's buildings to start as they got a feel for each other. I did not think they would be these kind of blowouts. And then I thought the series would settle into a home series starting in game 5. Well, here we are. So we'll see. But if the Heat lose tonight, I think they're going home in 6. I don't think they're. I would bet heavily against them in Boston in game 6. Unless LeBron shows up in a game 6 in Boston. I don't think Jimmy's has the health to do that right now. Even I told you Bam needs Hakeem's summer camp. I would agree with that. I don't know if Hakeem's still doing it. I guess he just took somebody under his wing, didn't he? So I was told that the last time I asked that question. Yeah, I mean, it helped. It helped LeBron for sure. That's one of the things that he went and did, in 2011. So, there's no bigger Hakeem Olajuwon stan than me. I think he's the most underrated player in NBA history. So if he wants to go work with Hakeem, there's no issue with that. Randy, I'm an adult. I don't. We should close with this. I don't believe where Ethan is located determines the outcome of the game. This is all I'm going to say about this. By the way, Greg's coming with me tonight. So like I said, his fault. We go. I was in. See this. Apparently, Spectre's not an adult, though I understand the perspective. Pictures all over FTX Arena with the words not allowed. I was in the locker room in 2006 in Dallas when they won with Jason Williams spraying the media saying, "I'm not an effing cancer," spraying them with champagne. Okay. While Alonzo took 20 minutes to answer one question. I was there, 2006. The ball being thrown up in the air by Dwayne. I was right there. Okay. So I didn't jinx that. I also didn't jinx 2012. I was there. I didn't jinx 2013. I was there. I don't know how this has started. I understand there probably are some metrics to this. I have said, when I was in Chicago this year and I took a couple road trips, Max Strus coming down the way. Yes, guts is good. Max Strus coming back to the locker room, sees me and points, "We finally won with you here." So people are aware of this. I don't know when it started. I don't know, but I will do. If you want sage, whatever you want me to do before tonight's game, I'll do it. But Greg is going to counter me. I think Jimmy Butler's health is more important than my presence, but I'll leave it up to you guys. All right, last one. Thanks to Manny for producing today and going a little bit longer and correcting my spelling. I think Depot starts 9 and gets 25. Depot won't start if Herro is not playing. Does that make sense? Because somebody needs to run the bench. It's not one for a billion. I think he's going to stay with the same starting lineup. I don't think he's going to pull Strus from the starting lineup. I don't. I know he wasn't good in the last game. He has played typically a little bit better at home, and he hasn't had many games like that. I think the only chance Oladipo will start, either Jimmy's out, in which case he will start, but Jimmy's not out. Or if what was I saying? No, he's not going to start. He's not going to start because they need even with Herro, even if Herro plays, Depot is going to need to manage the bench to a certain degree because we don't know how healthy Tyler is. So I think Depot comes off the bench and plays significant minutes. I do think one change you could see. Don't quote me on this. I think you could see Markieff Morris instead of Dwayne Dedmon tonight. I think what we're all seeing, the team is starting to see or has seen, which is that Dedmon has hit the wall here. There have been very few strong performances from him, and I think they may be better off getting a little bit of spacing with Markieff's ability to hit the mid-range. And so I know there was the video of Markieff working late last night. He's an option for them. I wouldn't be stunned if he gets a few minutes ahead of Dedmon tonight. So, not a guarantee, but I think the Dwayne Dedmon minutes have gone about as far as they can go at this point. They've gotten 2 really good years out of him, or about a year and a half. And I don't know. He hasn't been consistent of late, and he doesn't seem to have that same juice that he had when he first came here to Miami. So we'll see. But so you could see some Markieff Morris minutes. All right, thanks to everybody. Thanks to our sponsors, Better Edge, not Bet Edge, whatever the hell it is. I spelled betteredge.com/5 reasons. And of course, check out Prize Picks. Use the code 5 at Prize Picks and our friends at All Pro Construction Builders. We'll have pregame before floor at 7:30 tonight. Pace and Space at halftime. That's on Twitter. Post up 5R after the game. Great episode of More Floor. I didn't host. One of the reasons it was great. Gad Cartagena hosted, but Royal was on it. And who else was on it? Twan was on it. Marco was on it. And Norris Cole was on it for a full hour. Okay. That's on the YouTube channel. Make sure you check that out. All right. Have a good day, everybody.